There is a moment, somewhere around your 40s, when the life you built stops feeling like yours. We call it a midlife crisis. But that phrase, I think, hides more than it reveals. The term was coined in 1965 by a Canadian psychoanalyst named Elliot Jacques. He was studying creative geniuses and noticed a pattern of collapse around age 35. What he described was not a crisis of cars or affairs. It was a confrontation with mortality. The moment you realize you will not live forever and must decide what to do with what remains. Decades later, research revealed something Jacques himself did not fully anticipate. The MacArthur Foundation in America followed 7,000 adults across several decades of their lives. And their findings were unexpected. Only 26% of Americans reported any midlife crisis at all. 3 out of 4 people moved through their middle years without any dramatic rupture. So perhaps the crisis we fear is not universal. Perhaps it is, in part, a cultural story we tell ourselves. But something deeper is happening underneath. And economists would be the ones to find it. Economists at Dartmouth analyzed data from 132 countries. From industrialized nations to developing economies, from east to west, a single pattern emerged. They called it the U-curve of happiness, a universal dip in human well-being. The lowest point, across cultures and economies, arrives at age 47.2. Not 47, not 48, 47.2. The precision itself is remarkable. This suggests something biological, something woven into the structure of human life itself. So we are left with 2 truths that seem to contradict each other. Most people do not have a crisis, and yet happiness, objectively, declines in midlife. How can both be true? The answer, I believe, lies in what we call a crisis. A 2020 Edison research survey in America found 34% reported a crisis moment. But in Japan, the very concept struggles to exist. There is no direct translation. The closest word is yakudoshi, which means years of misfortune, something to be passed through, not fought. In Germany, University of Leipzig researchers found the dip arrives later, at age 52. In France, the phrase la crise de la quarantaine exists, but is rarely framed as pathology. The French treat it as a season, something to be lived through, not diagnosed or treated. So the same biological dip gets interpreted through vastly different cultural lenses. In America, it becomes a crisis. In Japan, a passage. In France, a season of the soul. The American Psychological Association, in its 2023 report, reframed the question entirely. They found crises correlate not with age, but with convergence, multiple life events arriving simultaneously. Divorce, career ceilings, aging parents, children leaving home, your own body beginning to change. These things rarely happen alone. They arrive together, in their 40s, with devastating synchronicity. The World Health Organization tracks this globally as midlife decline in subjective well-being. From Mexico to Mongolia, from Nigeria to Norway, the pattern holds with striking consistency. The UK Office for National Statistics finds the British happiness dip bottoms out at 50, near 47.2. The variation between nations is small. The shape is universal. But there is a truth that the word crisis completely fails to capture. The curve does not stay low. After the dip, happiness rises again, often higher than before. People in their 60s and 70s consistently report higher life satisfaction than those in their 40s. I am 72 years old. I have lost more than I care to count. And yet, I have never felt more at peace than I do now. The data says I am not alone. Stanford psychologist Laura Carstensen has spent decades studying this phenomenon. What's a skill you'd like to develop? She calls it the positivity effect. As we age, the brain begins to filter differently. When time feels limited, we turn our attention toward what actually matters, and everything else falls away. So perhaps the 40s are not a crisis at all. Perhaps they are an apprenticeship, a difficult, necessary rehearsal for the wisdom that comes afterward. The AARP surveyed Americans over 45 in 2022. 41% had pivoted significantly. Career changes, new relationships, relocations, returning to education, starting over entirely. In Europe, the Eurobarometer study found only 18% made similar major changes, more than double the American rate. This is not just psychology, it is culture and economics. But beneath all the data, all the studies, all the cultural differences, there is one shared truth. At some point in midlife, the question arrives: is this the life I wanted? That question is not a crisis. It is the beginning of something else entirely. The Germans have a word for what it really feels like: Torschlusspanik. It translates as the panic of the closing gate, the awareness that certain doors will not open forever. But the Japanese concept of Ikigai offers another way to hold this same moment. Ikigai means the reason you wake up in the morning. It is discovered, not imposed, and often it arrives late. The Harvard study of adult development has tracked human lives for over 85 years now. Their central finding is simple. What predicts well-being in midlife is not achievement, it is connection. Not the career, not the title, not the house, the quality of your relationships. Nothing else comes close. So perhaps the real crisis is not that we turn 47. It is that we arrive alone. We spent our 30s chasing things, and woke up in our 40s wondering why we feel hollow. The answer was there all along, quietly waiting, in the people we were too busy to call. If you are somewhere near 47, and the ground beneath you feels unfamiliar, listen carefully. You are not broken. You are not failing. You are being asked a question by your own life. The question is not what to buy or where to run. It is, who have I become, and is it enough? Answer it honestly, and the second half of your life will be unrecognizable from the first. So I ask you now, wherever you are standing, what question is your life asking you?